moonshot solution that you, Google, thinks could get ahead of this transition if there were political will to take it on?
Yes. So a couple thoughts on that. It does have to be a partnership. That it's not something that the government can or should do. The government's in the best position, but they don't always have the right amount of insight to get it done properly, especially as it impacts the business world. And so, to some extent, it needs to be a partnership between the government, between private industry, and between education. Having said that, absolutely, and this again comes back to education. It's, can we set up a structure in which we are very, very good at identifying where the workforce needs are going to be? What is going to be the demand for the workforce in the 3 to 5 year time range? And then to have an investment from private industry, from government, from education, to allow people who are being adversely affected by these disruptions to move into those kinds of training programs. One thing that I loved that Dan talked about with his training programs is there also has to be a commitment. The accessibility of things like community college, of technology retraining programs, one of the challenges with making those completely free is you don't tend to see as much commitment from the students. And this is where I love that model of was it $399 to go into the program, but if you completed the program, then it was free. Yeah. So it's got to be mechanisms like that, where there has to be a willingness to fund these programs, but they're also, we can't just make them universally available and hope everything works out. That we have to be very thoughtful and understand quite a bit about human nature to make sure we're putting the right incentives in place where people are going to want to make the commitment, because it's hard. It's really, really hard to retool. We're seeing this with a lot of the programs that were put in place for coal mining. As natural gas began to almost completely wipe out a lot of the gains that the coal industry had, a lot of coal miners were unemployed or underemployed. As those retooling programs were put in place, it was a really hard transition for a lot of those workers. And so it's not enough just to set up classes. It's not enough just to identify opportunities. We've got to be really, really thoughtful about how we set up the incentives and help those people get through what is a really difficult process to completely overhaul not just your career, but your self-identity. So it absolutely can be done. It absolutely comes back down to investing in and setting up retraining, but then understanding a whole lot about human nature.
The only thing I would add to that is you need to have a compelling argument for change. And so when people realize the only way I'm going to be successful and to own a house here in San Luis Obispo is I'm going to have to take charge. That's when things happen. When people just expect someone's going to give them something, nothing's going to happen. They have to in their head say, I got to take charge.